we may proceed. So now we may proceed to employee well-being. Okay, so on completing this module, no, you should be able to define this key concept. No, the reason for concern with well-being, the achievement of work-life balance, of course, the sexual harassment, services for individuals, the significance of work environment, managing stress, bullying, and group employees services. Okay, well-being at work exists when people are happy with their lot, no? What they do, how they are treated, how they get on with others, and the well-being of employees depend on the quality of working life provided by their employees. So the feelings of satisfaction and happiness arising from the work itself and the work environment. So the concept of quality of working life emerged, no, but has been less prominent recently, partly because of the preoccupation with work-life balance, which is dealt with latter, no, as defined. Of course, the quality of working life is related to the basic extrinsic job factors of wages, no, hours, and working conditions. In the intrinsic factor, of course, of the work itself, no. So which focus on their definition of work environment or involvement, intrinsic job motivation, job satisfaction, and happiness. So there are 3 reasons why organizations should be concerned with the well-being of their employees. No, number 1, most importantly, they have a duty of care, and this means adopting of socially responsible approach to looking up their people. Second, no, employers are responsible for creating a good work environment, not only because it is their duty to do so, but also as part of the total reward system. And third, it is the interest of employers to do so because this will increase the likelihood of their employees being committed to the agencies and help to establish it as best place to work. So ways of managing stress, of course, number 1, job design, target and performance standard, job placement, career development, performance management processes, counseling, anti-bullying campaigns, and management training in what managers can do to alleviate their own stress and reduce it in others. Now, sadly, no, sexual harassment has always been a feature of life at work. Perhaps, no, it is not always quite as blatant today as it has been in the past, no, but it is still there, no, in more or less subtle forms, and it is just as unpleasant. No, people subject to sexual harassment can take legal action, but it must be the policy of the agencies to make it clear that it will not be tolerated, and this policy should be backed up by procedures and practices for dealing with harassment. So what will be the problems of dealing with harassment? Now, there are 3 problems in dealing with harassment. Number 1, it can be difficult to make a clear-cut case. Now, an accusation of harassment can be hard to prove unless there are witnesses, and those who indulge in this practice usually take care to carry it out on a one-to-one basis. Now, in this situation, it may be a case of one person's word against another. So the harasser almost inevitably a man resort to 2 defenses. 1, that it did not take place, no? And 2, that if anything did take place, it was provoked by the behavior of the female. So when it happens, however, deals with the case has to exercise judgment and attempt, difficult though it may be, to remove any prejudice in favor of the word of the man, the woman, the boss, or the subordinate. Another problem, of course, is that victims of sexual harassment are often unwilling to take action and in practice seldom do so. And this is because the actual or perceived difficulty of proving their case, but they may also feel that they will not get a fair hearing and are worried about the effect making such accusation will have on how they are treated by their boss or their colleagues in the future, whether or not they have substantiated their accusation. And last, of course, perhaps the most deep-rooted and difficult problem is that sexual harassment may be part of the culture of the organization or agency, the way we do things around her. So a norm practice at all levels. Now, so what will be the solution? There are no easy solution actually to those problems or to these problems. It may be very hard to eradicate sexual harassment completely, but the effort must be made along the some guidelines or path. Okay, dealing with harassment. Number one, we need to issue a clear statement by the boss or chief executive that sexual harassment will not be tolerated. Number two, back up the statement with a policy directive that spills out in more detail that the organization deplores it, why it not acceptable, and what people who believe they are being subjected to harassment can do about it. Reinforce the policy statement by behavior at the higher level or senior level that demonstrate that it is not merely words, but these exhortations have meaning. You need to ensure that the sexual harassment policy is stated clearly in induction courses and conveyed to everyone on promotion. Reinforce this message by regular reminders. Make arrangement for employees subjected to sexual harassment to seek advice, support, and counseling without any obligation to take a complaint forward. They could talk informally with someone in human resource on HR manager, alternatively a counselor, and can usually offer guidance on harassment problems, assist in resolving them informally by seeking with the agreement of the complainant, a confidential and voluntary interview with the person complained against to achieve a solution without resource to formal disciplinary procedure. Assist in submitting a complaint if the employee wishes to raise it formally, and counseling the parties on their future conduct. You need also to create a special procedure for hearing complaints about sexual harassment. So the normal procedure may not be suitable because the harasser could be the employee's line manager. So the procedure should provide for employees to bring their complaint to someone of their own sex should they to choose. So in handling complaints about harassment with sensitivity, in due respect for the rights of both the complainant and the accused, because we need to ensure that hearings are conducted fairly and both parties are given an equal opportunity to put their case. So where sexual harassment has taken place, crack down on it. It should be stated in the policy that it is regarded as gross misconduct, and if it is proved, makes the individual liable to instant dismissal, and less severe penalties may be reserved for minor cases, but there should always be a warning that repetition will result in dismissal. You need to ensure that everyone is aware that the organization does take actions when required to punish those who indulge in sexual harassment. We need to provide training as an HR of managers to line managers and team leaders to ensure that the policy is properly implemented and to make them aware of their direct responsibility to prevent harassment taking place, to take action if does not. Now, how about the bullying? Bullying is a form of harassment and it can be very unpleasant. It is perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of employees' relationships to control. So, like sexual harassment, it can be hard to prove that bullying has taken place, and employees may be reluctant to complain about a bullying boss simply because he or she is a bully. But this does not mean that an organization or agency can ignore the problem. So a policy should be published that state that bullying is unacceptable behavior. People who feel that they are being bullied should have the right to discuss the problem with someone in the HR department or a trained counselor. Bullies should not be punished automatically. They should initially be helped to acknowledge the impact of their behavior and to change. Punishment should be reserved for those who persist in spite of this guidance. So I think that's it for this topic. Okay. So again, services for individuals, counseling, possibly through different programs of the HR department, can provided for sickness, bereavement, no, domestic problems, and retirement. And for the group employee services, this mainly consists of subsidized restaurant, sports and social clubs, and childcare facilities, and others, no, and others.